I know the fatherless home is a major, major problem.
Stay home and raise your freaking kids. Your kids need a father. Get back home. Get back home.
One day after admitting to having fathered a second son, Georgia U.S. Senate candidate Herschel Walker now says that he's the father of another son as well as a daughter.
Coach D here. Let's talk for a second. You know, I think it's noble whenever any man steps up to help father kids who aren't theirs. I've always had a hard time addressing this, given my own personal history. You see, I grew up without a present dad. In fact, what got me where I am today was my mother escaping an abusive relationship. This has been a source of many tough days growing up for me. When I was younger, my uncle, coaches, and teachers, they filled that void in my life. They helped guide me through so much in my life. And believe me when I tell you, it was always a struggle, and even today I fight demons that I think are a result of not having a present father. However, because of this, I have dedicated my life to being the best father, coach, and educator to my children and other kids who are growing up without their fathers. I get so frustrated at the GOP for constantly pretending to care about Black fatherless homes and using that trope in every soundbite to criticize the Black community and ignore other issues that plague Black America. Anytime Black people march against racism or police brutality, their response is always, well, what about Black fatherless homes? Talking heads like Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, and Laura Ingraham, they salivate at the opportunity to mention it as a deflection from white supremacy and privilege.
Well, there are a lot of reasons that men are falling behind in this country, but a look at the numbers reveals one statistic that tracks the decline of American men almost precisely over time: the disappearance of fathers from the home.
When their voice isn't enough, they trot out the show's two Black friends, Candace Owens and Sheriff David Clark, to put a Black face to those racist statements. Honestly, it's so disrespectful and hurtful to the Black community, not because we don't see it as an issue. We absolutely do. It's literally discussed in depth at community meetings, in churches, and in schools. But what is so damaging when Fox uses Candace Owens and David Clark is that they aren't a part of the conversations in the Black community. They aren't in those meetings discussing solutions with the Black community. They're on Fox News talking down to the Black community to an audience that is predominantly white. So it feels no different than when a racist troll uses it in the comments on YouTube or TikTok. But recently, not only did they trot Herschel Walker out, they went all in and fully supported his candidacy for a Senate seat in Georgia. And boy, did he not disappoint them. He talked about Black fatherless homes as if he was a hero coming to the rescue.
I know the fatherless home is a major, major problem. Even if you have to leave that woman, you don't leave the child.
Right.
You let that child know, you try to work it out. You're going to be respectful to her. If you're going to be respectful to other things, you show that to your child.
His own son made multiple TikToks demeaning Black folks and Black celebrities about this issue.
Fathers, it would be great if you stayed home and raised your kids instead of ran off to bang a bunch of women who weren't your baby mama. Stay home and raise your freaking kids. Your kids need a father. Get back home. Get back home. If you take out your thing and you get a woman pregnant, guess what? The party days are over. The acting foolish days are over. You go get a freaking job and you support your new family. Get home. Raise your kids.
But one thing that Herschel said in an interview that kept me in his corner on this one issue, in spite of his son's antics and their dismissive statements, was that he said he had helped father many Black kids who didn't have a father.
Herschel Walker, who was born in Wrightsville, Georgia. I took care of a lot of people in my hometown. I took care of a lot of the places around where I grew up. I was being like a father to some of those kids that may have had fathers.
That reminded me of my uncle, my coaches, my teachers, and despite the huge gap between us ideologically, I had respect for that. It was the only thing about him I admired, and given my past, I was in his corner. So imagine the knots in my gut when it is revealed that this man has children out there that he didn't father.
One day after admitting to having fathered a second son, Georgia U.S. Senate candidate Herschel Walker now says that he's the father of another son as well as a daughter. Until earlier this week, Walker had only publicly mentioned his 22-year-old son, Christian Walker. Well, this morning news broke of a third son out of wedlock who is now 13 years old and now an adult daughter who was born when he was the running back star for the University of Georgia.
Imagine the pain in the black community when they learned that the Republican pawn who had talked down to them and castigated them to white audiences about not valuing fatherhood didn't value fatherhood himself. And here's something that's telling about the party that pretends to care about this issue when it elicits cheers and applause. What's telling is that they have yet to address this or withdraw their support for him. Where's Candace Owens on this? Sheriff David Clark? Where's Tucker and Hannity and the Five on Fox News? They're silent because they don't actually care about black fatherless homes. They only care that repeating that line secures and maintains the support of the racist people in their voting bloc. It's really sad, and Herschel Walker needs to withdraw himself from the Senate race and
stay home and raise your freaking kids.